Greetings and salutations. Welcome to the second ever LupisLupineArt stream. It looks like I'm actually going to go through with all of this. And so, yeah, welcome. This is pretty exciting. This is pretty weird. So today, what we're going to be talking about is spending a little bit of time talking about facial structure, proportions, that kind of a thing. If you have been following me in the past, then you know that I've been working a whole lot on all the different features that I draw on my faces, getting sizing right, spacing, all that kind of stuff. And went pretty darn well for the most part. But I found after a little while that I wasn't completely happy with my overall head structure, my proportions. So I did an experiment to find out how I was doing and kind of start with a little bit of results. But after showing off my recent art piece here that I just finished, I'm pretty pleased with how it came out. I started to walk through what I did, which was I did just a head drawing and then downloaded some fan art from Persona 5, because that's what I've been working on, and laid my own art piece over top. And found that everything was horrible. The eyes were way too high, nose was off. It was just really, really kind of a mess. So I decided to take a step back and look at how my one of my favorite artists does their proportions and then try and apply it to my own work. As you can see there, that's what I kind of sketched underneath of the Anne Takemaki drawing from Persona 5. And then I did a side view and a front view and tried to come up with figuring out how they proportion their faces. So, pretty pleased with that, and that's something I can't really take the time because of the time lapse to show you how I went through, but check in on me with on one of my Monday tutorial days, and maybe we'll go over things again. But anyway, then I went on and just blew up the frame that I made and decided to try doing a drawing over top. So I took that frame, that mannequin there, put it on its own new layer, and just started sketching over top using my own guides as a guideline. Again, using, as I normally do, a really rough, really wide brush just to kind of get in ideas. A lot of it initially is a little bit on the tracing side, although I decided I was going to draw an elf, so pretty early on you see I've started to throw away the guides and come up with some of my own ideas. The idea behind the guide is to make sure I don't make all of my faces exactly the same. And it's a little bit tough when you've got basically a face outline that's, at least this is going to be good for young people, you know, that kind of a thing. But I need to make sure when I go over top that there's variation, that I'm thinking about different shaped eyebrows, different shaped eyes, all that kind of stuff. Looked like I lost a frame there. I could see that flash. That wasn't just your imagination. You can see already there, taking out that background, we've got a pretty simple but also very nice little face begun there. Decided to zoom in a little bit and add in some details. thinking about what I want to have in a face. You know, what particular details are going to be important to me and how I want certain stuff to look, eyes, eyebrows, all that kind of stuff. You know, purposely keeping it pretty loose though. I didn't go for a whole lot of facial expression because this is yet again another new thing I'm kind of applying, but I tried to at least hint at some personality. It's always got to be in there, at least some. So we're coming along pretty nicely. It's always interesting, again, looking over my own work as I'm doing it, why I made certain decisions, why I adjusted certain things. It's funny. Adjusted the nose just a little bit. I think I had it just a little bit too far back, thinking about the planes of the face, how, you know, the forehead, or when you look at the side, there's this little dent in and then it comes out, but then the cheeks have an out and then an in, just all of that kind of stuff. Basically, it's just about refining. I'm trying hard not to erase my lines too much. But you could see in pretty short amount of time, I had a pretty acceptable looking face. I think there I was looking at some reference material for starting to think about hairstyles, things like that. Grab the hairline in real quick off of my reference. As well as just getting that overall shape of the skull. So with that, new layer, I think it's time to grab a nice big brush and just start playing with some hair shapes. I always do this on its own layer because you really want to feel free to draw over top of other artwork, things of that nature, you know, cover up the face some and have that be okay. So originally I tried something pretty long, didn't really care a whole lot for it, but I'm trying not to throw away too much, trying not to delete too much. Really starting to make sure I frame up the face really well with the hair. And then as I start to see those big chunky shapes, get rid of what I don't like. No big deal. Let's try again. Decided I was too much. See, playing with it, letting stuff just try and pop out is really kind of part of the game here. You never know drawing it perfectly right from the beginning, well, first off, it's never going to happen. And second, letting things happen is part of what needs to happen. That wasn't very good advice. See, I've struggled quite a bit just trying different things. Definitely looking for some inspiration, some help from some of the artists that I follow online. I can tell just by looking at my own face in the original video. And with that, looks like I got happy with some of my ideas, and then again on its own new layer, went in, still rough, still not going for something absolutely perfect, but started to get in there and really feel out how this was going to go. Now I could do a hair tutorial all on its own, and I probably will at some point. But to start out with, you find the kind of big major strands, the big chunks of hair, and sort of this very anime-esque spiky form, although trying to include as much curve, trying to think about as much gravity as you possibly can as you put those big shapes in there is kind of part of the first step. Adding more little wisps, stuff coming off, because hair isn't perfect. There we go. I still haven't necessarily fixed all of my flip it one way, flip it the other problems, but I did improve on some of them by doing this. I could see where a lot of my issues were, at least. Decided I wanted a long braid around the top of her head. Had to go up and look for reference material there. I guess if there's anything I could say about this particular piece, this section, is don't hesitate to go looking for reference material if you need it. I'm eventually going to try and work out something where I've got an extra computer screen up so I'm not having to flip away to see things, but not ideal right now, but it is what it is. There we go, after actually looking at something online, got a bit more confident on how things are going to look, but compared to the face, way rougher. You can definitely see where I'm more confident in my drawing and where I'm a bit less confident. Once I had the hair in there well enough, I went in back to that face layer and erased some lines that I knew I wasn't going to need. And then started refining my shapes for the hair itself. Keeping in mind this is still really a rough more than anything else. But to go from nothing to this in less than an hour is pretty good movement. I look like the fastest artist in the world when it's sped up. Starting to throw in some of the thinking about those hair details. Trying to decide if I wanted it to come over her shoulder at all. That's sometimes the kind of thing that I like to do, sometimes not. I don't know. And that's where we kind of came to the end of our time, that particular day here. Not a bad chunk of work for an hour, and gives you a pretty good idea of how to effectively have a framework, an idea in the of what your facial proportions should be, and then effectively put something over top. Now, that isn't going to be perfect every single time, but it gives you at least a reference point for yourself. So if you're struggling with coming up on how to get the face shape right, the proportions, how long the nose should be, that sort of thing, I highly recommend it. I'm going to keep using it as kind of a guide, a baseline for myself for a while, see how it goes. Anyway, as you may have been able to tell this time through, I did speed up the video a little bit more than I have in previous sessions. I'd like your feedback in that. Let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, this has been the second episode of Lupus Lupine Art. I'll be posting this up into YouTube in just a little bit. Thumbs up if you like it, thumbs down if you don't. Leave me comments on what you'd like to see, how I could improve in things. Otherwise, thanks a lot for joining me, and yeah, I guess I'll see you next time.